Hello, Zach here, coming back to YouTube for a little bit. I just have some stuff on my mind about Splatoon that, I don't know, I just want to get it out there instead of just keeping it to myself. I think I've obviously tried to make content before, and I think it's worth another shot. But today, specifically, I wanted to talk about the ability opening Gambit. Now, I've been thinking about this recently because if you've noticed, if you've been paying attention or play in any competitive space or even just kind of the mid to higher levels of X rank, you'll notice everyone, almost everyone, is running Last Ditch Effort, which is a headgear exclusive ability. It buffs your ink efficiency as long as certain requirements are met. But before Last Ditch Effort was reworked, it used to not get used at all. As with its sister ability, Opening Gambit, they used to just be, last 30 seconds or first 30 seconds, and no one used them because, yeah, you're getting so much value out of one main ability. I mean, Last Ditch Effort gives you more than a whole gear build's worth of, ink efficiency. Opening Gambit gives you 30 ability points of run speed, swim speed, ink resistance. That's cool and all, but if it's only active for 30 seconds, it's only 30 seconds. Even if it's at the end of the match, is it really that worth it? Most people don't think it is. And the differences with LDE, Last Ditch Effort, is that Last Ditch Effort is not that difficult to keep active. I mean, Splat Zones and Rainmaker, the score goes under 50 and 30 all the time. It's really easy to score in that mode. And, specifically in like Rainmaker, if they get a, really early push, but you're able to stop it, now you have bomb spam for the rest of the game. I mean, there's just so much value in that. It makes it so like support players like me, we don't really have to run that much ink efficiency on our build just to get bomb spam. Now, Opening Gambit, in this game, it gives you a lot of mobility, so you could think in theory, okay, so maybe I don't have to run any mobility on my gear build because Opening Gambit can cover all that, but you just can't really keep it active for enough amount of time. I played a match earlier and, we got a really good opening, right? We basically got a wipe in Rainmaker, and I could, Opening Gambit, it was doing something. It was doing a little bit, but I think that was more just to do with the matchmaking, and my team had better players on it, and I could have just had like a mana swim speed instead and probably did the same things. It's just not really that worth it to me. If you don't know, to keep Opening Gambit active, in addition to the first 30 seconds of the game, you need 1 kill or assist to add 7.5 seconds to the clock, which basically means you need to average 8 kills a minute, 2 quads a minute to keep it active. I feel like having the ability depend on just like your singular actions instead of kind of the state of the game can get problematic, and I'll kind of mention that again later when I suggest some solutions to this. Especially when the meta is just really defensive right now and playing really patiently is valued. Comeback is just kind of doing better for you because it's going to be active more, because you just will die in this game sometimes. Even if you only die like 4 times, you at least get like, a little bit over a minute guaranteed of mobility, extra mobility, and among other things. Now, maybe it makes sense for this ability to be hard to maintain, obviously. The thing with Last Ditch Effort and Opening Gambit is, yes, they give you a lot of abilities, but you can only access them for a certain amount of time. The name of Opening Gambit, the word Gambit, implies that it is a gamble, that it will help you get a strong opening push, and getting kills will just help you kind of snowball that into getting a really strong opening to the game. I like that. That makes sense. I think, at the end of the game, it shouldn't be active. That's not the point of the ability. Unless you're just like popping off, unless you make it snowball to the end of the game. I think that's kind of how the ability should work. And trying to get, 8 kills per minute, that's just not really realistic. So I think using the concept of this ability, I still think this can get reworked and be balanced. There might be a debate if it should, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I have two main ideas I want to share just to kind of get the ball rolling. They definitely could use some tweaking to be more properly balanced, but I just want to get the idea out there. You know, numbers and values, they can always get changed, but these two main concepts I just want people to hear. So my first idea is kind of the direct approach to, like, you know, reworking it. Or really, this isn't really reworking it at all. This is just a buff. What if we change how long the timing is? I think we could add more time to the clock for each kill. Doubling it to 15 seconds, that might be a little much, right? That might be kind of ridiculous, but you still have to be fragging a lot, right? I mean, 4 kills a minute, you know, that means you need like a 20 kill game. That's, you know, a 20 kill game, I feel like that's a tall order, especially if you're going against a team of equal matchmaking, right? I also kind of thought that if it was instead the timer was reset with each kill, so instead of each kill kind of adding to the timer, it's like you can't go a certain amount of time or you will lose opening Gambit. You can't go a certain amount of time without a kill. So if it was a 20 or 30 second timer, right? So if you go 20 or 30 seconds without getting a kill, all of a sudden, you lose opening Gambit. You have to snowball, right? You have to keep the ball rolling. You have to make sure you're not starting to feed. Because if you die twice, I mean, you spend, you know, 10 seconds just respawning alone, and then another about, you know, 10 seconds just both times you die just to get back to the map. So even if you super jump, so it's just kind of, you know, you can lose it. You can still lose it pretty easily. You have to make sure that you're not letting that snowball go. It's all about the snowball. And if this timer stays, by the way, this is kind of off topic, but this applies to like comeback too. Any ability with like a timer, the timer needs to be on the screen. There's no reason for it to not be on the screen. That's like useful information. I mean, the only way I can really tell if I have comeback or not is by like looking at my sub saver, or not my sub saver, like the line that shows how much ink you need for your sub. That's the only like indicator if I have comeback active, right? Besides like just trying to feel it out. The timer, it should just be on there. It's quality of life. Now, my second idea to kind of fix opening Gambit, and this one I like a lot better. It just kind of makes more sense, and it kind of fits into Last Ditch Effort. It's actually kind of the opposite of Last Ditch Effort. See, Last Ditch Effort activates when the score for the enemy team, when they score a lot, right? When their score is low, when they're close to a knockout. So what if opening Gambit was active if you keep the enemy from scoring, right? So let's say, basically, let's just use the opposite numbers. So like, you have opening Gambit at full effect until the enemy scores to 70. And then your opening Gambit will start to get diminished until they get to 50, where you will completely just lose opening Gambit. You will just lose all the abilities. I think that applies to the concept of, okay, if you get a good start to the game, this will snowball, right? You can let it snowball. But it has the benefit of you don't have to like play super aggressively. You don't have to keep getting kill after kill after kill. You don't have to be playing in a very predictable, aggressive way. And I think that just works a lot better, right? You can still be patient. You can play smart. I feel like opening Gambit, when you have that, you can't really play smart. You have to get kills. You can't just wait to get kills. But it's still a gamble, right? Because again, what if you play this in Zones or Rainmaker and the enemy team is the first one to get the objective and they push to 50? All of a sudden, you just wasted that gear ability, right? And that can kind of, you know, that kind of happens with Last Ditch Effort sometimes, right? In some Rainmaker maps, the choke point is, you know, at like 30 or something, and the enemy team gets by it. Well, yeah, you have Last Ditch Effort now, but they just got by a really hard choke point, and you know, you could have used the bomb spam there instead. So, like with these abilities that give you a lot of effect in just one main, there is always going to be a gamble with it, but I think it's more beneficial to make it so that the gamble isn't too steep. There's got to be some value, because if you're going to put an ability in the game, make it worth using. And you know, Last Ditch Effort, it might be too strong, but at least people are using it, right? So I think if we work opening Gambit to be based on the score, basically being the opposite of Last Ditch Effort, it rewards, you know, early suppression of the enemy team. It lets you snowball an early lead. But I still feel like Last Ditch Effort has showed us that these types of variety abilities that give you, a lot of value, they can get a little bit unbalanced. Just about any weapon in Splatoon 2 with a bomb will run last-ditch effort just for the bomb spam, especially support weapons, because you're all about trying to output as much pain as possible. Bombs help that. Bombs help with poking. They help build your special. Last-ditch effort, I run it on almost every weapon, with, few exceptions, of course. Every support weapon, at least. And because last-ditch effort is so, strong, and I use it on almost everything, I don't really use ink efficiency anymore by itself. I don't really use sub-saver or ink recovery at all anymore, unless it's like a very specialized bomb spam build, like on Junior, right? Because Junior's all about bomb spam. And it's made making some gear builds a lot less fun, I guess. It's a lot less creative. It's just, last-ditch effort covers a whole thing. So if opening Gambit was buffed to cover the need for any mobility, and it's realistic enough to keep the ability active, we would start to see builds that forego mobility, right? They wouldn't run swim speed anymore. They wouldn't run, maybe Splatlings wouldn't even run speed, although, that's a big gamble, right? Because Splatlings really need run speed. And what would they run instead? Would they run quick respawn? I mean, probably, right? Because what else would you run? Especially if you're a Slayer that wants a lot of mobility, you'd probably just run quick respawn. Maybe if you're a support, you'd run more special charge or ink efficiency by itself, My point is kind of stuff like last-ditch effort has made making gear builds really boring. Making gear builds is my favorite thing about Splatoon 2. I love how you can just kind of change the playstyle of a weapon just with the gear abilities. If you didn't know, my main is NZAP85, and I kind of struggled with the build for a while because I was trying to balance kind of mobility and bomb spam. Bomb spam was my favorite kind of part of the build, so I really didn't want to give it up. But now with last-ditch effort, I just stick all of the bomb spam, half of my entire idea into a main, and then that gives me plenty of space to run a very speedy NZAP. Now, it's very fun to play, I will admit. NZAP feels great when you have full LDE. It's an amazing weapon. But I don't know if that's good balance, right? I mean, a lot of people are kind of complaining about bomb spam in this meta. It makes it even more defensive because if all 4 of the players have LDE active, it's overtime in Rainmaker. How are you supposed to push? They're just throwing suctions everywhere. It's so hard. And I feel like if an ability, and this is almost a topic for another video, but if an ability is being used by everybody, is that balanced, right? Because I feel like you almost have to run last-ditch effort, and it completely invalidates 3 other abilities, Ink Recovery, Sub-Saver, and not as much Ink Saver main. There's still, I still use Ink Saver main in addition to LDE if I'm playing like Dynamo or like Explosher or something like that. I think gear build creativity is something that it's something that should be valued in the meta when we have it. Like, for example, and this is kind of a bad example, but Tenatech splatter shots in Splatoon 1, they used to run combinations of swim speed, run speed, defense up, and damage up. This was before quick respawn became meta, so this is why that's a bad argument, because Splatoon 1, there was no gear build kind of expression or creativity. You had to run quick respawn. It was worse than anything we have in this game. But besides quick respawn, though, in Splatoon 1, I feel like, something like Tenatech, you could kind of, express your playstyle with it. Did you want to be kind of like a tank and run a lot of defense up? Did you want to be a mobile tank and have swim speed and defense? Did you want to just be reliable, have defense and damage and swim speed? Any combination, right? I think gear build creativity could be empowered for Splatoon 3, and last-ditch effort and opening Gambit don't really support that, in my opinion, because they either don't get used, or if they are good, they're used all the time because of how much value you get out of them. And they just invalidate whatever abilities that are packaged within that main ability. Let me know what you guys think about, my fixes to opening Gambit and this little conversation at the end here, if it should even be fixed at all, because I think there is a debate to be had about that. And just a reminder, my ideas, they're not perfect. They could use tweaking, but I really wanted to get these ideas out there. So, if you disagree, let me know. If you agree, let me know. Just put your thoughts down below, and thank you guys so much for listening. I will see you next time. Zach here. Stay safe. Thank you.